2.
Good morning. The June 4th, 2024 board work session is now in order. Paul, roll call, please.
Ms. Wright?
Here.
Mr. Trent? Ms. Campbell?
Here.
Ms. Jenkins?
Here.
Mr. Susan?
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, board, we have a rather short agenda today of a couple of presentations. The first presentation that we have is going to be the district plan for the early literacy presentation from Miss Wendy Smith, who is already up front, or Miss Tara Harris. Okay, the entire team. So you have the floor.
Good morning. We are very excited to be here today. I think this isn't the first time collectively as a group we've talked about our third grade student learning is not where we want it to be, but that it is not an isolated third grade issue. It's all the things that happen for student experiences prior to that third grade year. So I'm going to go through how we got here, and then our team, because this is truly a collective team of all the our RAISE coordinator, our reading facilitator, our early childhood and elementary programs directors, of a lot of uncomfortable conversations because we're very vested in what we've done thus far, but we have to have honest conversations about if it's not increasing student learning, it's not working. And so sometimes that's hard because change is uncomfortable, but we're very excited that we've gotten through the messy part of those conversations, and now we have a very clear and concise plan that should support student learning across all of Brevard's elementary schools. So I want to just review and remind you that 7039 came out, and that was basically stating that professional learning and all that we do to support reading instruction must be grounded in the science of reading. This was not new for Brevard because we had been doing PAC meetings for years where our literacy coaches, assistant principals, and principals were all getting professional learning experiences grounded in the science of reading. So this came out and basically reinforced what we were already doing for professional learning. What this did also have language in is around 3 cueing systems, that those are prohibited in instructional materials and as an instructional tool. And I just want to review for the non-educators, a 3 cueing system includes if I am learning to read and the teacher is saying, well, look at the picture so that I can identify what that word is, I'm not sounding out that word. And the best example I can give you as a teacher would be if the word is mouse and it begins with an M, but I see the picture and I'm being guided to that picture and I say the word rat, because I think that's a rat, and so I'm reading that word. And the reason that's been prohibited is obviously we want students to learn to sound out the letters so that they can become decoders. And so that's the legislation that reinforces what we're going to be doing with our schools, but also it's the background of the why it's important. And then you say, why the mighty moves? What we want is we want something that is cohesive regardless of school your child is zoned for, that you are getting high quality literacy instruction that is grounded in the science of reading. And we support this because we have student data that says we still have too many children that are not proficient going into the next grade around literacy. We also have walkthrough data. So not only our team, but our chief of schools team have been collecting walkthrough data of what does literacy instruction look like in our kindergarten through third grade classrooms. And that is where we can identify what are the needs. Is it a training need we have? Is it a resource need? What I can tell you is we have all of the resources. You guys have been very generous with our approvals on grant spending so that we can provide all schools with quality resources. And then we create a plan for the 23-24 school year that supported teachers. And you've heard about those programs under SORT and HITS. So those were teachers coming in the evenings and on weekends for 2 years, really diving into the science of reading and how it connects so it lives authentically in the resources that are in our classroom. What brings us here today is we know not all teachers can give up their evenings and their weekends. And so when we were having those conversations, as solid and the feedback we got on those trainings was very positive, we still were not impacting all classroom teachers. And so with this plan of Mighty Moves, we can impact all teachers in Brevard will have this through intentional coaching. So we have a sizable investment that we put in literacy coaches in all of our elementary schools. That is something not all districts have. So we're very blessed to have that, and we want to leverage the tool with research of how the coaching model will provide all teachers this opportunity. So as we're setting goals of teacher training, we will be able to say at the end of this year, all Brevard teachers in elementary school that teach in front of kindergarten through third grade students will have access to this program and this training. We also have looked at the research around teacher retention. It is no surprise, nationally we're in a teacher shortage, and there's a lot of research that teachers that feel supported in growth of practice and building towards success, so that when they feel like I'm being impactful for my students and I feel like I have a team surrounding me with support so that I can better serve students, they are more likely to stay. And so we're trying to really focus on teacher retention through support for success. And I give you a snapshot of, if I'm a brand new second grade teacher and I'm trying to learn classroom management, and I'm trying to learn instruction, it is overwhelming and it is hard. Our teachers come every day giving 100%, but it is tough. And this program will support them with, you're going to be able to focus on classroom management, but you're also going to have a toolbox of research-based practices and strategies that you're going to be able to support students. And what we know is when teachers feel like they're making a difference for children, success breeds success, and they want to keep at it. The left side shows you the Scarborough's reading rope. Our classroom teachers are well aware of the Scarborough's reading rope, but that basically says is where we are looking at comprehension and the skill of decoding, and how does that make fluent readers? And so for a non-educator, they hear about science of reading. This is a rope that kind of says you have to have both things in practice and instruction in order for students to go off and not only be able to decode the words, but then to make meaning from the words. Anita Archer is a literacy researcher, and she says there is not a comprehension strategy that can help a student that overcomes they cannot sound out the word. And if I put that in our layman's term, if I can't read the word, don't ask me what that sentence or paragraph was about, because I can't even make meaning because I can't sound out the word. And that's where Scarborough's rope and this science of reading instruction comes into play. So next we have our 7 mighty moves. This is where we're super excited, because we hope when you're on our campuses, you'll be able to say, tell me about the mighty move that we're working on this quarter. And administrators, APs, principals, everyone will know we're focusing on this mighty move. The mighty moves are based off of a text that is grounded in the science of reading, but it is connected to the strategies that you may know from Orton Gillingham. So that is an intervention literacy-based instructional tool grounded in the science of reading. And these mighty moves are based on strategies from Orton Gillingham. So we're going to go through more details, but that is, I joke that I want shirts that say mighty moves. Like, we're really excited about these mighty moves. Again, looking through a teacher's lens, if I am new or new to a grade level, this is all very overwhelming. But if we're focusing on one mighty move, that is a chunk-sized, biteable piece that I can attack this 9 weeks and to improve my practice. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Smith.
So let's go into a little bit more detail about these mighty moves. And like Tara said, I'll re-emphasize, we are so excited about this initiative. And some things have already been in the works, and we're going to go through in the PowerPoint what has already been in the works. But we're going to talk about these 7 mighty moves from the book, The 7 Mighty Moves, to make sure that when we talked as a team, we wanted things to be targeted, intentional, but then actually bite-sized, so that people could go back and implement in the classroom next day, next week, and just have that strong foundation. We also realized that You can start off like gangbusters, this is going to be great, but if there's no follow through or follow up, sometimes it just goes to the wayside. So we've intentionally put in some follow up as well. So let's talk about these 7 mighty moves. We've broken them into 4 quarters. That's why you see the 4 circles. So remember, going back to targeted, specific, and bite-sized. The first quarter is going to focus on teach phonemic awareness with intention. Whole first 9 weeks, K through 3 teachers. In that, they will have structured planning, training, and I'm going to go through that in just a minute. This is just an overview of the 4 that we've chosen. The second quarter will be phonics, and that will also have sight words in it and some training on just really how to teach phonics explicitly and systematically. The third 9 weeks will be teaching decoding strategies, and we will be using our decodable readers and training our teachers and our literacy coaches on that. The fourth 9 weeks will skip to Mighty Move number 7, which is to improve comprehension by developing vocabulary and background knowledge. But know that the other 3 moves that we have intentionally left out for this year are infused within those other 4 moves, such, for example, fluency. Fluency is Mighty Move number 6, focus on meaningful fluency practice. That's infused within all of the 4 that we've chosen. So let's look at the timeline. Like I said, we've already had some of these things happen, but this is going to be repeated every 9 weeks so that people get used to a system. Week 1, face-to-face train the trainer. What does that mean? District personnel are going to train all school-based literacy coaches. They're going to be provided with a slide deck for the Mighty Move, whatever it is, Mighty Move number 1, 2, 3, or 7, and a look-for walkthrough tool that they will be able to use consistently throughout the district on what is good practices to look for while they're watching these Mighty Moves. Week 2, the coach is going to be able to get to really own the content, study it, get to know it. The coach and the principal are going to meet on this Mighty Move and how they're going to roll it out to their teachers. Week 3, coach is going to deliver it to K through 3 teachers during a PLC after school. That's a school-based decision and will be decided in week 2 in collaboration with the literacy coach and the principal of how it will best be implemented at their school. The administrator is going to be in that training for the K through 3 teachers so that he or she can be able to support the initiative as they walk through classrooms. Now, week 4 through 6, the literacy coach is going to do a 5-day coaching cycle with 3 chosen teachers based on that current Mighty Move. The principal and the coach can decide who those teachers are going to be. Within those 5 days of the coaching cycle, it might be somebody that is brand new to teaching. It might be somebody who doesn't really understand that certain Mighty Move. It might be someone who's requested it. So schools are going to have that choice to be able to do that. But it is going to be a requirement of the literacy coach to do a 5-day coaching cycle with 3 K through 3 teachers. Now, if you multiply that by 4, because we have the 4 quarters, 12 teachers at minimum will be receiving specific coaching and feedback based on these Mighty Moves. In week 7, trend data will be collected through that Learning Walk tool. The administrator and the coach will meet, and the coach will prepare the teachers for the upcoming fluency check. Remember, schools have K through 3 fluency checks quarterly. So that will be in preparation for that. In week 8, the teachers will administer the fluency check and input the data, and the coach will analyze the data before the PLC meetings that final week 9, where the coach and administrator will meet with the teachers, the PLC, to analyze the qualitative data and actually plan for action steps, such as small groups. Who needs more support? Which students need more support? So I want you to really look at how detailed and specific and consistent this will be, and this will be at all schools that will be driven by the school-based literacy coach. but supported by district personnel and school-based administration. So let me just tell you give you an example of the first quarter, and then we're going to go through quarter 2, 3, and 4 very quickly. But on the left-hand side is a sample of the evidence-based practice for the first Mighty Move, and they are specific things that both the literacy coach, the principal, and the teacher will know, which would make it be good, sound teaching practices while they implement that first Mighty Move. Now, schools will be walking other classes. They'll be walking math, they'll be walking reading at different times, not during the Mighty Move. And they have their own school-based walkthrough tools often. This is just for that Mighty Move, to see if our teachers are understanding, our students are getting the knowledge, and that the literacy coach is following through with support of the teacher. So the first one, like I said before, is phonemic awareness with intention. It is research proven. It is aligned to the science of reading, multisensory daily, tier 1 ELA instruction. What does that mean? This is not in small group. All students will receive in tier 1 whole group instruction this phonemic awareness with intention. And then they will have daily fluency practice. So in this quarter 1, we've picked 2 strategies. One is word chains, and one is weekly dictation that will go along with this first quarter. As Mrs. Harris mentioned, you have been very generous in approving grant funds. So there are materials that align with these grants, with these moves, and all the materials teachers will have. They will have the chipboards. They will have the whiteboards. They will. So we are purchasing everything that they will need to have to implement these moves. I'm going to turn it to Marilyn, to Ms. Chappie, to go over the next 3 moves.
All right, so when we move into quarter 2, we're going to move into Mighty Move 2. And with Mighty Move 2, we are looking at evidence-based practice of phonics, teaching phonics explicitly and systematically. Explicit instruction means providing precise directions for teaching the letter-sound relationships with the students. So it's really diving deep into those phonics. It's looking at the word and helping them sound them out, just like Mrs. Harris was talking about how we want a child to be able to sound out the word mouse, looking at the letters, learning the letter sounds, and being able to use those sounds to decode their words. Those will be the strategies that are introduced with Mighty Move 2. Research strongly supports this explicit instruction, and that's through our Orton Gillingham training that we're doing, this all ties together with that. During this, they will be using visual graphing cards, blending boards, and mini whiteboards. Again, like Dr. Smith said, all of these things are being purchased for our schools, so they will have the materials to use, and they'll be using evidence of vowel tense activity each day. So through this, our students will be getting that explicit phonics, which has been missing in our classrooms, and it will, I know it's going to make a strong difference. So, okay, then quarter 3, we move into Mighty Move 3, decoding strategies, not cueing strategies. You heard Mrs. Harris talk about the cueing strategies. We're no longer using those, and we are using research-proven methods. So with our Mighty Move 3, it will be decoding strategies. And decoding through orthographic mapping, which involves the formation of letter-sound connections to bond the spellings, the pronunciations, and meanings of specific words in this child's memory. So that will really help them be able to become much more fluent readers. We'll be using the walkthrough tool that you can see over on the left-hand side there. They'll be looking at tracking the words on each page, whether or not the children are keeping their eyes on the text, no 3-cueing. And the teacher will be supporting decoding by prompting not to guess and providing unknown sounds within the words. When we go into the Mighty Move, or quarter 4, this is when we go into Mighty Move 7. Evidence-based practice involves improving comprehension by developing vocabulary and background knowledge. So this quarter, teachers will learn to include collaborative engagement during whole group instruction and model the use of academic language. Comprehension is an outcome, not a skill to be taught, as you heard Mrs. Harris saying. Background knowledge and vocabulary development are critical to a child being a successful fluent reader, and that's what we'll be working on during quarter 4.
So you say, how are you going to do all of this? This is a great initiative, but what is going to be the purpose of the people and how to support the schools? Well, let's focus on the literacy coaches first. And as you know, there's a literacy coach in every school. They are going to have, this has already been introduced to them. We're going to have fuller training here in a little bit, and I will go over that momentarily. But the literacy coach will have 6 focuses. One is that coaching of 3 teachers, helping to support in their classroom, working alongside of them. They will have an expectation of daily interaction in K-3 classrooms every day. All K-3 classrooms every day? No, but their expectation is to walk through those K-3 classrooms every day, or some of those classrooms. They will be able to make their own schedule. They have that ongoing partnership with the administration. I hope that you saw that it was a lot of collaboration with the literacy coach and the administrator. They're going to be able to have time to learn the content. We're just not throwing this at the literacy coach and say, hey, use this on your own time, or learn it and get proficient with it. They're going to be practicing in their training at their literacy coach meetings, and then we'll have a week to be able to really digest the information before they present. They're going to facilitate weekly PLCs at their school on the instructional practices and the Tier 1 planning. Remember, Tier 1 is for all students, so all students will be receiving these skills, and they're going to be meeting the district deadlines and commitments each week. So not just the literacy coaches have support, or are going to be provided support, but also the district support. So district, let's look at the training. The district team, the ELA team, will be training the literacy coaches every month on these Mighty Moves. They will also be providing district people, 2 of my friends out here and some of their teammates are going to be providing optional virtual trainings for teachers. Like if teachers are stuck, I just don't get it. I don't know how to get that small group, or I'm just confused with fluency. They're going to be providing some virtual voluntary trainings for them. Professional learning of the foundational skills will happen at all assistant principal meetings, and you know they are monthly. So the APs will be brought into this Mighty Move initiative at their AP meetings. And with the principals, we'll be meeting with them quarterly at their meetings, just to give them a smaller update on what's going on. The APs will receive a much larger one, and then the literacy coaches will receive it all. So at the school, each school, and this is new for us, and this is a bit of a change, but it's necessary. Each school will be assigned a district ELA contact who is going to go in and work side by side with that literacy coach to help support. They can support with trainings, PLCs, walkthroughs, coaching cycles. It will be differentiated based on what the literacy coach needs. But we're not just giving this initiative to the schools and saying, okay, good luck and goodbye. We're providing an ELA resource teacher for every literacy coach. Each of our district people will have about 6 to 8, depending on the state identified raised schools, because we'll have a state representative be with Tamara Thatcher, who is in now. Some of you see her in the schools. She will be still working with intensive raised schools on this Mighty Move. And Jennifer Mallory will be working on our targeted identified raised schools on this Mighty Move, but they're not identified yet. As soon as they're identified, they will have those schools. We'll divide the rest up between our ELA team so that every coach has a support from the district. Now the accountability, each ELA contact is going to monitor the timeline and provide monthly support. Is the literacy coach able to implement it? What are the barriers? How can that district person support? Do they co-teach and do it side by side? Do they need modeling? Whatever they need to make sure this Mighty Move happens. And then the ELA contact will be providing, will be providing ongoing feedback back to me. As me being their supervisor, they're going to be meeting with me to tell me how it's going. There's a spreadsheet that's already created that I can look and see what days they're spending with the schools, what they're having trouble with, what they're having success with. And then my responsibility will be presenting the information to Mrs. Harris on a monthly basis at minimum, but we have weekly meetings, so I have a feeling it's going to turn into part of our weekly meeting, which is fine. But what I want to hone in on here is just so that you understand it's coming from the top all the way down to the students. So it's going from Mrs. Harris, Assistant Superintendent, all the way down to our K-2 students with support from adults at different levels. So, this is yours. So how are you measuring an initiative? How are we measuring this? You know, we're doing all these great things. How do we know if it's going to work? Third grade ELA proficiency. That's what we want, right? We want the kids to be able to read by the end of third grade, and that cell for proficiency is so important. So we are going to look and see if our third grade scores improve next year. We are also going to be monitoring the STAR early literacy of the K-2 as well. Quarterly updates can be provided to both you and community members. You know, this has come from our community too. As you know, at school board meetings and at our community meetings with members, they're like, hey, what are you doing about this science of reading? What are you doing about third grade scores? What is happening? It's happening. They asked, you asked, and this is our effort to make sure that we rise to the level of your expectation. So the rollout, just as we've kind of mentioned this, but I want you to know it's already in progress. On April 25th, principals received an overview of what's happening, what's going to happen with their literacy coach. And I will tell you, I am getting emails. They are excited. They're like, oh, finally, my literacy coach will have a direction. It will be a constant direction, all from Pinewood all the way down through Palm Bay. So that is exciting. The literacy coaches on April 26th at their meeting went in a little bit more depth, and Debbie and Jennifer presented to the coaches. I was in here, Ms. Harris was in here, Ms. Chappie was in here, and the chatter was just happening. This is kind of cool. This is good. I can teach ELA. I'm going to have a focus. I'm going to have materials. I'm going to have a book. I'm going to have training. I'm going to have support. So they're abuzz about it, so that's great. On July 24th, our first principal meeting, we're going to explain what we're explaining to you. They got a general overview of their literacy coach will be changed a little bit, their direction, and then we'll give them what you're receiving in July. The assistant principals will have about an hour and 15 minutes of a deeper dive of the Mighty Move and what they can do to help support their coach and the initiation of this Mighty Move. And then big day, day one, August 1st, the literacy coaches will receive their first training on that first Mighty Move. It's an all-day literacy coach meeting, but focused a lot on that Mighty Move. Finally, these are our quarters, a review again, and just by date. Just so you'll have it by date, August 1st will be begin quarter one, October 11th, quarter two, January 13th, quarter three, and March 24th, quarter four, with the end result of every K-3 student having a focus on 4 Mighty Moves prior to them leaving that grade level and being assessed on that PM3. So I'm tired now, because that work sounds exhausting. But are there any questions? I'll turn it back over to Mrs. Harris or anybody. Jennifer, you are welcome to ask any questions. We are just so excited that we have a district focused, that it's planned out, that it goes from Mrs. Harris all the way down to the students. We're going to be monitoring it, providing support, and we're just really excited of the change.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Smith. Board, I'll turn it over to you if you have questions or comments that you want to make. Ms. Jenkins?
Yeah, first and foremost, Ms. Chappie, Ms. Smith, Ms. Harris, I just want to say I thoroughly enjoy every time you guys give us a presentation. your knowledge base and your passion for your craft is more than commendable. So thank you for everything that you do for this district. I have some like split off questions actually. So, well, I guess first and foremost, it sounds like this is all happening at once in every single school. Is that correct? Okay, so there's no priorities kind of phasing in or anything like that. Okay, and then my spin-off questions are, this is based off of K through 3. Is that because of legislation? And is there eventually a long-term plan to kind of phase it into our pre-K classrooms to blend it into that mentality?
So I'm so glad you must have telepathy, because I was going to say we've done a lot of talk around K through 3, and we want to also, I was going to close us kind of with some connections to VPK.
Okay.
Because the answer is no, this is not legislatively driven. It's data driven. The legislation just supports, like, you know, like there's a lot of great things we do, and there's law that says we have to do it, but we would be doing it anyway. Our data shows this. We just all got to celebrate high school graduation. That is why we show up every day, is because we want those students to cross that stage. It starts way before third grade, but it's heavily measured, and there's a whole lot of research behind third grade. And so our goal with this is, yes, a K-3 focus, but it's because we want to increase that grad rate that we all own. It is not, you know, Mr. Raymer and I say, it's a pre-K through 12 issue. It's not a, you know, just a high school issue. But this connects to VPK very much, that I'm going to address in a second how, well, the last time we talked about pre-K expansion and where we are going with the next school year on that, but it looks at what's happening around literacy in our pre-K classrooms that will lead into this mighty move. Quite honestly, we have too many students going into the next grade, whether it be kindergarten with no access, or, you know, just not coming with all foundational skills into that kindergarten setting, but then that repeats itself. And so what we want to do is focus on the K-3, while we know we can marry a lot of this to those foundational skills so that students can start kindergarten with a stronger start through VPK. But the bottom line is we still have just under 40% of our students leave third grade with the skills of not to be comprehension strong. And that's where it shows up in 4 through 12. And so that's why we've done the focus in K-3.
Thank you. So I appreciate that. I figured you would respond that way, just, you know, knowing where your hearts are with pre-K and everything. And I know that this method is primarily focused in the K world and up. But I appreciate you talking about how there's going to be some kind of conversation about how that actually blends into those foundational skills pre-K. So awesome. So again, kind of like a left off the road ramp question, but somewhat tied. You know, forever ago with our former superintendent, and when we were going out for millage, we had conversations about the potential of increasing access to IAs in our classrooms. You know, big dream of every K through 3 classroom gets an IA, right? Where are we having that conversation at all? Where are we with that? Because I feel like that, you know, goes hand in hand and supports this very initiative.
So what we just presented to the millage, and Ms. Chappie can speak because she did present that in my absence, all kindergarten, all schools will have at least one IA supporting kindergarten, with our 10 largest schools receiving 2, and Meadow Lane Primary, just due to the nature of that setup, receiving an additional, so they'll have 3 kindergarten IAs. So that is where we are today. Those units are already working through going on to schools PAR, so that I believe their June PAR will have all of those units on there. The principals are aware of that, and I can tell you at the destination kindergarten events, kindergarten teachers, some of the IAs were present, and the teachers were sitting side by side and saying, I wouldn't be here if I didn't have this support.
Okay, so I have a clarifying question, because I wasn't aware of that, so forgive me. So every school gets 1 per kindergarten. Based on size, they get 2, and then, yeah, Meadow Lane's tremendous, so they're getting 3. Okay. was there conversation, and forgive me because there may have been, I just want to know, was there conversation about schools that are showing the most significant deficits or gaps between, K through 3 getting an additional student, not based on size, so performance based?
What we were able to do is, to answer your question, the millage-funded IAs, we looked at for size, based on student need, because some of these are also acclimating students just to the kindergarten experience, like first-time schooling, as you're well aware in that transition. But what we also have looked at as a district, because a lot of our schools that have a great need, academic need, are also kindergarten or Title I schools. And so in looking at, do they have other avenues to support that so that we can match up? So they'll get, yes, you'll get your one funded through millage, but then how can we better leverage the federal funds that you receive at your school to align those? And some of that, when I think July 1st is her official start date, when we have our federal programs director, Dr. Mella, she's going to be doing a lot of return on investment around positions to make sure our schools are even leveraging their federal funds to best support that. So that how can we strengthen?
So I appreciate that, and I think there'll be some fixes there, don't get me wrong. But one of the things that kind of like is really a struggle for me, especially when we have this millage to be able to kind of have a little bit more discretionary decisions going on here, is yes, those schools get additional resources because of the Title I funds, but is it still making enough gains, or could we continue to make more gains there? So I guess I just want to throw it out there as like a conversation to you guys, to the board, to the superintendent of, is there, because this is a millage fund, can we stretch it just a little more and have a conversation about maybe how we can support the bottom 25% right there with something else? Maybe it is in another kindergarten one. Maybe we give them a first grade one or something after those evaluations are done with those Title I schools. I feel like because this is the first time we're finally having that conversation. I know that I know it wasn't a promise to the public, but I know it was said to the public that we would have IAs in all of our classrooms, and I know we don't have the bodies for that, don't get me wrong. But I think that this is something that people really wanted to see when they were voting for that millage. So if we can just have a conversation about how we can make sure we're using it to the best of our ability, or like pinching it as much as we can, and giving you guys and the schools more resources to pull this off.
What we can do is, why don't we gather some data to see what some options could look like based on need and not student number. We've got the student number in place, but we can gather what that would look like and share that for further decision-making and conversation.
Because if it's, what if it's 5? It's nothing significant, but it could make a huge difference to that school and that community. I think it would be important for us to have a conversation, just because we have flexibility there.
We will gather that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I don't mean to get rid of the based on size. That, to me, that's starting point absolutely needs to happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jenkins. Ms. Campbell.
So wonderful work prepping everyone, and I'm so glad to hear also that you teased it in April just to kind of get everybody ready for change. Always good to like have a notion that even if it's a good change, it's change, right? So glad you guys are rolling this out, and that we had the time to get it prepped before the school year, and so everybody knew it was coming, and I know you guys are going to do a fantastic job. Even this week, right, with starting looking at the data with all the principals meeting tomorrow. So just briefly kind of adding on to what Ms. Jenkins said, so are we in the elementary schools then, are the literacy coaches going to be just solely focused on this kindergarten through 3rd grade and not 4th through 6th grade at this time? Or is this going to be an addition to, or just changing how they're doing these younger grades?
So I'm going to answer your question and know that this will absolutely be a change for some that is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But yes, this will be the focus K-3. And I can explain why. We spend almost $9 million K-12 on literacy coaches. And in looking at our data, I always look at, okay, if that's your personal money and you were putting that on the table, would you be okay with this return? Mm-hmm. And so I think that we have literacy coaches that have been working on very, very hard on a lot of things. And our data doesn't show the impact to the hard work. And I think it goes back to, can you do a lot of things really well?
Right.
And so, so the answer is their focus will be this K-3 Mighty Moves, every literacy coach in elementary school. That will be a change. And as you shared some change right now, they might be excited, but come October, November, when it's, you know, when we're evolving, it's uncomfortable.
Right.
And so the answer is absolutely yes, K-3, and that's why we did the rollout in the spring, basically to say we're going all in. And as Dr. Smith mentioned, you know, they were excited. They want to focus too. They're working really hard. It's just sometimes on things that aren't having the impact. But we wanted to give that commercial out there of this is where we're going, so that if in any event that it doesn't align, if you really want to just work in sixth grade classrooms, we have a lot of other opportunities for you.
Right. No, I absolutely support that change. I just wanted to be clear that I understood it, that we all understood that change. So I think that is crucial. We have to make choices, right? And I think this is the right choice, the focused choice. And then going back to, actually, never mind, that idea went right out of my brain. So if it comes back, I'll reserve the right. Oh, it was about IAs and support. Our strategic, we are not changing our focus on like setting our priority schools for the year. If, you know, God forbid we have a bottom 300 school, you know, we still are utilizing that list that we have every year of these are our priority schools as far as resources when it comes to all things academics, discipline, whatever kind of support. That's we still have that focus when it comes to all those issues, don't we?
Yes, so we'll, obviously, we're going to wait for official school grades at whatever time, but we have a lot of data right now. So Dr. Smith has already been contacting principals based on data to say, based on your performance in science, you are going to be a priority school in science. Here's the support you will be receiving from the district that's in addition to what everyone gets. The same in math, and then in ELA, all of our schools have. But so we will still have priority, because we have a literacy coach in every school, but then as Dr. Smith mentioned, we assign our ELA team of these 3 schools based on performance are going to be yours. And so, Tara Harris, your expectation is that you're going to be supporting these schools based on they need more. They
Right.
need more support.
And they're even just the raised schools. The raised schools automatically get a certain level of support that's in addition to. Okay, so you know, as far as changes, I mean, this is already a huge change. This is a change, adding those IAs per school. And thank you for going back and revisiting the Medellin primary, because, you know, that is our only school that has like 12 kindergarten classes. Mm-hmm. It's very unique. And so that is a huge change. So I think my opinion at this moment would be I would like to see how things roll with the changes. These changes, with the changes that Dr. Miller is going to be looking at and making more efficient use of those funds and resources. And then let's look at what happens the next year. Because I know that one thing that happens, and I know you know this, is when we start opening up positions like IA positions, then really we just have a shuffle around. It's really hard to attract new people. So until we're in a strong position of positions filled, I don't want to create holes, especially like in the ESE world where we have IAs and other positions, until we're really solid with what we have before we add on another layer potentially with millage or other sources of funding. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell. Mr. Susan.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the thought process of putting this together from beginning to end, dovetailing it for every piece that you guys need. I mean, I was looking through that, and that's the first time it's been presented in that way. And I wanted to just give you guys as much credit as you can for what you guys put together there. I was thoroughly impressed. I love the name Mighty Moves. I'm looking forward to the T-shirts that say them across the front and everything else. And I love the fact that you guys are tying in the science of reading and all of those components that's inside there. I love the conversation that you guys just had about, you know, we're going to start with one IA in each one of the kindergarten classes, you know, for the kindergarten groups. And then not each class. I got you, Ms. Campbell. I corrected myself. But what it is that there are other supports that go to those schools. And sometimes when we're looking at these things, we're like, well, you need to put more there. But there may already be Title I supports and other supports that are inside there that are acting in cahoots with it. So I wanted to say thank you to that. And then the one area that I would love to see, and maybe we can follow up later, is is how do our parents align themselves with what is going on with the teachers, right? So like, as we're moving forward, all the teachers, the IAs, and everybody else are getting this. Is there a way to communicate or, I'm sorry.
No, we were getting our answer, make sure that we were on the same page. I want to share that we were very successful. Let me say this. We were successful with having some math parent nights last year. And we were able to provide some training for them, some games for them, some math manipulatives, and they were able to take them home. It wasn't as well attended as I had hoped. We had three, one in the north, one in the central, and one in the south area. But we are looking into replicating that for the ELA as well, and having some, we call them area-based parent nights. I'm starting with my math right now, scheduling them at schools. As you know, scheduling them with open house and, Title I nights and things like that. I'm getting the math one scheduled now, and my ELA team is going to look at doing that, because you are right. If we could model or teach a parent how to read with their child, or sound out a word with their child, or what they could do just in the car, and make it with those ELA nights. We've even toyed with the part of putting it with the math nights, and maybe doing half math, half ELA, so that they won't come out again and it's another scheduling. So we're on the same wavelength as that. Like I said, we did implement them for math last year. We want more parents this year, but the parents who were there were just so thankful. And if you could see the parents just playing games with their child, and their child beating them and saying, "No, Dad, 4 + 2, you can add it this way, not this way," and just really, it just made my heart proud. That's why we do this. When the parents and the child walk out and they're talking education, and we're going to play at home. One 6th grade girl said, "Dad, we're going to be up till midnight. I'm going to beat you at every game." And so anyway, we're going to collaborate with that and maybe combine it. We're just in the thought processes of that. But you now that you've said it out loud in the universe here, we're going to make it happen either in combination with or independent of.
And I remember those math nights as a parent, right? And I do understand that those are great. One of the areas of deficiency that I think is not responsibility of the school district is engaging in some of our community leaders, pastors, Rotaries, stuff like that, to start supporting our kids in need. Because we know that we can have those parent nights, but many of our students that fall under the hardest hit areas are ones that don't have those supports at home. So the idea would be, how do we engage with those community leaders to support our students with need and get them to start supporting from an outside perspective? And I think that's one of the keys that I would see, that because when you talk about the science of reading, we know that the Bright Group is coming in with the churches and they're wanting to engage and help. And we should hold them accountable for saying, we want to support this program. Well then, okay, now we're doing this. How are you going to support us? With resources, with people to support our students and everything else. That whole piece, I would love to work with you guys on over the summer so that we can get them to start supporting our students.
The other thing we did with math was provide videos for parents.
Yes.
That
Yep.
were along with the lessons. And that's another thing that we're going to be taking for the ELA also, to try to put it was just little 2-minute snippets of videos. We kind of rolled it out with, have you ever had a day where a kid needs to help with homework and you might not remember how to do the math, and then there's a struggle, and then there's a yelling and screaming and crying? Watch this 2-minute video and you too will be able to know what the child did. And so the parents were like, wow, these videos are amazing. I can look so smart in front of my kids. And the videos are for teachers too.
And I
That
think-
just if you need, I just can't quite remember how to do that. So we're on the move with that.
And I think also part of it is allowing the parents to understand what resources are available to them to track. So like, as they're learning through it, here's the book, here's the online book and stuff like that. Here's how to access that. Sometimes the wall of logging in and doing all that other stuff becomes difficult for some parents to be engaged. So I really appreciate everything you guys did. This is exactly what we need right now. Just get the ball moving in this direction. I appreciate you guys for what you did, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Uh-oh,
Susan.
uh-oh.
I do want to say
wants me to
too,
keep
with the, going back to the, it is no doubt a K through 3 initiative, but some of the literacy coaches had some of those same questions. You know, well, what if my other teacher needs support? And this is the initiative, but there will be time for, remember what I said about grade level meetings? Well, the grade level meetings focus for K3 is going to be Mighty Moves, but schools are still going to have grade level meetings for ELA and math and science and social studies for 4-6. And so that literacy coach will still be involved with that. It's not like we're, you know, not going to support the 4 through 6. And then I have my district team here that principals can always, or literacy coaches always reach out and say, hey, I need Jennifer Cockrell or Debbie Wood or so-and-so to come out and do a PD for my 6th grade. We have that as well. So that'll still be in place.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Trent, welcome. I know you came in a little bit late, but do you have anything that you would like to add? Or
You know, other than thank you for what you're doing. What a wonderful plan. Those in the community wonder if we have plans. We have plans, and we have people like you that are so professional and are always on top of things. So I'm excited to see this in place. To talk more about the parents, absolutely. If you get parents, put as much on that plate as possible that night, the math, the reading, and maybe to make teams of those parents and make those parents leaders and have them try to recruit other parents, because that would make that would make the community a lot more together if we can get as many of those parents trying to grab some neighbors of kids and bring them in. So thank you for doing that, and the outreach is important. Matt was perfect on that, is getting the parents involved, because we know if we can hook in those parents, it just makes all of our jobs so much easier, and the progress would be that much greater exponentially. So again, pardon myself for my lateness here, but thank you so much for what you guys do.
Yes, I am so excited about this initiative, honestly. So I kind of look at this as though you're planting a seed, right? And we're going to see dividends paid. It's going to take some time for this to really show. But I really truly believe what's going to happen here in Brevard County is going to be absolutely amazing, and it's all of our wonderful team. Thank you guys so much. I just had a couple of quick questions, and I just thought about this when you talk about the math competition. When I thought, why don't we have a Are You Smarter Than a Third Grader kind of competition night? Because we are a competitive family. We love that kind of thing. I think that might be something that might attract families to come out, because it sounds a little more fun than, hey, we're going to go talk about math. You know what I mean? And if you were to kind of look at something like that, that would be a fun event. I would definitely sign my child up. Unfortunately, they're past 3rd grade, though. Wanted to ask about the training of the teachers and looking at that. Is there a possibility that there is training available? Because there's 12 teachers is what you said, based on the one literacy coach. They're going to train each quarter, correct, on the timeline?
No, all teachers will be trained. In the 12 is the coaching
coaching
cycle.
cycles, okay.
The coaching cycle, a minimum of 12 in the year. Your literacy coaches will do more. We
Okay.
had to set a minimum expectation, and it'll at least be 3 per quarter.
Okay.
But all teachers will be trained on the Mighty Move K3 by the literacy coach, and have those materials, practice those materials before they take it to the students.
Okay, and if a teacher identifies himself and saying, hey, I want this coaching, I need this coaching as an additional resource to me, that will be available to them, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, that was
Yes.
one concern. I love this. I think we're rowing in the same direction. This is going to be tremendous for our district, and I'm very, very excited to see what comes.
And just for clarity, because we live in this world, and it's, but a coaching cycle, we always say, like, Michael Jordan had a coach, and he, some would argue that he is the very best basketball player, but still had a coach. And that's so every teacher will get the training on the school-based campus. But whether teacher solicited, like, I want some coaching, or based on need of additional coaching, that more coaching cycle is, I'm going to show you, and then I'm going to model it in front of your students while you're observing. Then we're going to have conversation about, here's why I did this. Here's why I said this. Did you notice I did this? And then that teacher is going to do it with the coach observing and then giving feedback. So it's a little more intensive of I'm going to show, you're going to be able to do, we're going to do it together and have conversation. So it's an extra layer. Additionally, we are providing this summer through the rest of our SOAR and HITS funding, the Orton Gillingham training that's it's week long, and that is for 2 teachers per school.
Okay, that's very, very exciting. So, yes, thank you, ladies, so much for all of your hard work. This is going to be huge for us, and I cannot wait to see the data that comes out of this investment. It's going to be
Madam
tremendous.
Chair, if I could,
Absolutely, Dr. Rendell.
I just wanted to show my appreciation to the team. This is actually a targeted, research-based, cyclical approach. Like, it's prescriptive, it has, a well-thought-out plan, well-thought-out execution. I don't see how our kids are not going to benefit, how our teachers are not going to benefit. We just need to execute the plan. It's a fantastic plan, and really based on, the science of reading and other research-based strategies. So really excited about it.
Yes, very, very excited. Thank you guys so much.
And just before we transition, and it's a nice segue into our Head Start, two things. I just would be remiss if I did not recognize Jennifer Mallory, our RAISE coordinator, and Debbie Wood, our literacy facilitator, because we're up here, but they are in the weeds of it. They are
Yes.
the true
Thank you.
champions, so I appreciate both of you.
Yes, thank you guys.
And also an pre-K update, because we did a workshop on VPK expansion. So the ask of the board was to look at making sure that all Title I schools have a pre-K program. So we will be adding at Apollo Elementary so that they will have a pre-K there. We are also, remember we talked about finding a feeder system where they all have a step forward. Because what we have right now is some have a Head Start, some have a blended, so there's pre-K opportunities in a lot of schools, but not a pre-K opportunity for all students at that school. So I'm not going to dive into all the kinds of pre-K again, but the step forward, any student zoned to that school can attend that step forward class. So we are adding that at Palm Bay Elementary, so we will add that. We also have numbers at Christa McCullough, and so they will be getting an additional unit. And that's not based on looking at the feeder pattern, but that's looking in the south area where we have students that they're bursting at the seams, where they can fill a class. And so that's at McCullough. And then blended unit at Mila. And so that's some of our expansions, and we'll continue to look at that of how we can provide. But we want to be very strategic that we're providing where we have students for attendance.
Absolutely.
And now we can transition
I know.
into some other pre-K conversation with Head
Yes, that's
Start.
a perfect transition. So thank you guys so much. Appreciate all the work you're doing there. Our last topic that we have is the Head Start program presentation. And I have on here Wendy Smith that's presenting that one, but I don't think you're presenting. Okay, Terry.
We're going to have Terry Barlow. Yes.
Okay.
I'll turn it over to Terry.
Thank you, Ms. Barlow.
Thank you. Good morning. Dr. Rendell, board members, thank you for your time today. Excuse me. And if you would just take a moment, as we do each time we have the opportunity to present, to review our vision and mission with you. Yes, is that better?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And then we'll go over I'll go over just a few facts with you for next year's Head Start programs. Still, we haven't had any changes in our locations. Of 3 sites in the north area, 4 in the central, and 5 in the south. Our funded enrollment continues to be 624 students. We have 34 classrooms. 19 of those are a combination Head Start VPK, and 15 of those serve our Head Start 3-year-old students who turn 3 on or before September 1st. And then our program serves 10%, at least 10% of our students have an IEP. And then if you scan our QR code there, that takes you directly to our webpage. So on our agenda today, we have an update for you about the Edward Ziegler Innovation Award, our Focus Area 1 review, our 5-year program goals and our school readiness goals, our continuation application, as well as the cost of living adjustment that we recently received, an update on our Fast Start early literacy, as well as our school readiness data, class data, and some of our professional development data from our staff professional development, as well as professional development that we've done with our parents. So lots of data for you today. So we did it. You all have been hearing lots about our dental program and how we went to the state and then the regional level. And in April, Dr. Smith, myself, and the dental hygienist, Amanda Smith, accepted the National Edward Ziegler Award in Portland, Oregon. And this was in collaboration with the Florida Department of Health. Our program was honored as actually the first school district grantee to be the national recipient of this award. This award celebrates programs who have leveraged community partnerships to create high-impact services for families. And this was the award that they presented us in Portland. So we're really proud of our entire team and want to thank you as well as the DOH leadership for your continued support on this initiative. This school year, we were able to provide almost 500 children with our on-site dental exams and their dental exam via teledentistry. For many children, this was their first oral health encounter, and our program staff, our oral health team really strives to ensure that this is a healthy, a positive experience for children and feeling comfortable and cooperative with the hygienist and her team. So we were very excited about that, and I know there's a press release coming soon, and we want to thank Government and Community Relations for working with us on that as well about the award. So back in December, and we talked to you about this a little bit in November, we had our Focus Area 1 monitoring event, and that was conducted virtually. And I'm pleased to share with you that during the review, we had multiple opportunities to showcase our program strengths, our program leadership, along with Mrs. Wright and our Policy Council chairperson, participated in interviews with the review lead. And for this review, we were found compliant in all areas for our program. During the 24-25 school year, we will have an on-site Focus Area 2 review. And then, just as a reminder, our 5-year program goals, we provided an overview back in November about how our board, policy council, and program staff collaborated to establish our 5-year program goals. We're finishing up year 2 of our 5-year grant cycle, and these goals also align with the district strategic plan, and they're also supported by measurable objectives. And we review them annually and make adjustments as needed. Each 5-year grant cycle, we establish school readiness goals in consultation with our families whose children are participating in the program. And our school readiness goals align with the Sunshine State or the Florida standards, as well as the Head Start Early Learning Outcomes Framework. And we have an ongoing monitoring tool that was locally developed that our teachers use to determine if children are making progress towards these goals. Back in April, we submitted our application for continued funding, and our federal funding, total federal funding is just a little over $6 million, with our non-federal match requirement of about $1.5 million, and we've received an additional $140,000 for a cost of living adjustment, with our total Head Start grant funds to support our comprehensive program of about $7.7 million. So just going to share with you briefly some of our Fast Start early literacy data, and this is just a Head Start students. This is not all of the BPK students that participate in this. So for this school year, we started the year out with just over 37% of students being at or above benchmark. But by the end of the year, we were close to 72% of our students being at or above benchmark. It's not shown on this slide, but I would like to share with you that last year in 22-23, in the PM3 progress monitoring period, we had 66% of our children at or above benchmark. So that's our 72% is about a 6% increase from last year. And then our school readiness data, this comes from that locally designed assessment that the teachers use to provide ongoing monitoring, and they use this data to drive instruction in all areas, not just the literacy areas. And you can see, today I only have available data from checkpoints 1 and 2, which occur in the fall and in January, and our children are making steady growth in all those areas as well. So our class data, just as a reminder, the class assessment scoring system is used to measure those adult-child interactions. The quality threshold from the Office of Head Start is 6 for the emotional support, which you see in the first column there. It's 6 for classroom organization and 3 for the instructional support. And this chart is showing you our data over the course of the last 4 years. And we are very pleased to highlight the growth from spring of 2023 to the spring of 2024, where we showed significant gains in our class scores between the 23 and 24 school year. And we really attribute these increases to the high-quality coaching that all of our teachers receive, and of course, the hard work of our teachers and instructional assistants. And with that coaching, those coaching cycles that we do in Head Start not only include our teachers, but the 2 instructional assistants that are assigned to each of our classrooms. Okay, and then our staff professional development data. This year, we started out the year with a meeting with all of our principals and assistant principals at each of the 12 Head Start sites to provide them some professional development on how we can support them and all things they need to know about Head Start going into the school year. We had some required Head Start training, curriculum training, our Growing Up Wild partnership with the zoo that supports our outdoor classrooms, active supervision training, our class training, as well as teaching in the FAST lane, which supports our teachers with using that FAST data to support student instruction and individualizing instruction. New this year, our coaches facilitated a book study called Push Past It, A Positive Approach to Challenging Classroom Behaviors, and that was very well received by the 29 teachers and the 44 instructional assistants and family advocates that participated in that book study. On Professional Development Day, we had a great speaker that came in, Brandon Williams, who did a session about how to use music to boost those class scores and to boost those adult-child interactions using music. And Ms. Danino, Priscilla Danino, presented that day as well for It's Okay to Play in BPK. Okay, and of course, last but not least, during this school year, our new family services manager, Michelle Dale, she worked collaboratively with our family advocates to develop a year-long parent series. And the series focused on 6 shifts for our parents. And our parents were able to attend monthly meetings where they had an opportunity to focus on a different shift each month in support of helping their relationship with their child go from good to great. And you'll see on the next slide, we had some great participation, and the picture there you see is a group of our parents participating in an activity with their family advocate and their coach who do these trainings collaboratively. And you'll see here the topics for the different shifts that we had and the total number of parents that attended, and we broke out the number of dads that were able to attend each training, as well as our families who speak English as a second language. And so for this year, we had a total of 432 families, parents that were able to participate in our parent education. And that is all I have today. If you have any questions.
Thank you so much for that wonderful update. I will turn it over to the board. Ms. Jenkins, do you have any questions or comments? No? All right, Ms. Campbell?
Thank you again for good work and for sharing the good work with us. It's always fun to have these Head Start. I feel like our Head Start classrooms are probably legislatively so, but in actuality, our most supported classrooms in the district as far as personnel and coaching and all that. I mean, would that we could do that for everybody in every classroom across the district from pre-K all the way up to high school. But that's what the program is intended to do, is to support those children who may not have gotten that, the benefits of, having everything to come together before they get to kindergarten. And so to kind of get in there and support families. And so this is fantastic work. And I should know this because, having been on the board for the amount of time I have, but when you talk about the budget, the $7.7 million, that, besides the buildings, right, that are supported through our other fund, does that support the Head Start program in total without any other funds besides, as far as like staffing and training and all of that? It's all encompassing, correct?
It is, yes. It supports our 34 classroom teachers, the 68 instructional assistants. It's about a little over 100 staff members. It supports myself, our district staff, family advocates, our oral hygiene team. It supports our family services. So yes, it's all encompassing in everything that we do in Head Start.
And I know when you give us our monthly reports, it has that breakdown of the budget, because there's so much. Not only it is the most supported, there are the most supported classrooms, but there's also probably the most regulations on those classrooms and the most accountability of things that you guys have to report out, not just to us, but to the federal government and the state, and to the families, because it's all part of the program. So thank you for the work that you have done and you're continuing to do. And I'm excited to continue to see good work being done in our Head Start classrooms.
Thank you. And I will just add, it is one of that I'm aware of, one of the few, it's a federal direct to the district grant. It does not pass through the state like some of our other funds do.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Susan?
Thank you, Ms. Campbell, for eloquently giving all of the credit to them for what they do. You guys are amazing. I have many friends that are Head Start and teachers and part of your organization, so I know them very, very closely, and I know the work that they do every day, and I appreciate you and the organization. If there's anything we can do, just let me know. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Trent?
It'd just be piling on. So this had to be a great little report for you to put together. It was great positive numbers. Keep doing what you're doing. And again, echo the same. If you need anything from us, let us know.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And congratulations on the award that you guys received. I'm hoping that sets a trend for the rest of the other Head Start programs around the country. That is a tremendous award. So you're doing something that no other Head Start program is doing, and I like that you're leading out very well in that way. So good job, good work from your team. Are you doing good with your parent liaisons as far as, that was one of the things that we talked about before, is serving in that role. How has that gone this year?
Yes, it's going well this year. Right now we have 10 parent liaison, family advocates.
Okay.
And they are responsible for that parent education, the parent series, for delivering that material to the parents. And we got great feedback from our parents on that. So they're supporting with that. They're supporting with attendance and all kinds of other things. So
That's really, really awesome. So good work. You're doing an amazing job there in that department.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Rendell, do you have anything?
Just want to echo what Mr. Trent said. Those are great numbers. Don't lose sight of the fact that those numbers have increased over the last several years, and that's a direct result of the hard work of the staff. So other than that, I also want to remind the board that tomorrow and Thursday is Ascend 2024. You may have saw an email last week about that. It's going to be between 500 and 600 of our educators meeting, school-based teams, reviewing data, working on their school improvement plans. It's a huge event that's being put on by Student Services, Chief of Schools, and Curriculum and Instruction. So it's really a big event down at FIT. All day tomorrow and all day Thursday. If you could stop in, it'd be great to see all the work that's being done.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you so much, Ms.
Thank
Barlow. Board members, do you have any other things to discuss or closing remarks? I have a couple things, but want to turn it over to make sure nobody else had anything beforehand. Nope. Okay. Just wanted to clarify a couple different things. So we have our board attorney evaluation that's going to be on our June 18th workshop. So we were working through dates and all of that. I think we finally landed on a date. June 18th. And then one of the other things that we have is the superintendent's evaluation. Now, Dr. Rendell, I think we were tentatively looking at this for July 23rd, but you had indicated that school scores will not be out until after that date, correct?
Correct. The state board is meeting July 24th
Okay.
to decide what formula they're going to use to calculate grades.
Okay.
So if you want to wait for school grades, you'd have to go later. We can still have the evaluation based on data that we have. It's board's pleasure.
Okay. All right. And so board, I just wanted your consensus on this. We could move it to the August 4th workshop if you would prefer, to make sure that we have that data in, or would you feel comfortable proceeding forward with it without having that?
Will we have the data in by August the 4th, since they're just meeting to, I'm just wondering, should we just Is that?
I
are we-
can't, no, I can't
There's
guarantee
no
Am I
anything.
putting an unrealistic timeline on you?
Yeah.
But I believe if the board votes, the state board votes on July 24th on which formula, we would have grades within days.
Okay.
Yeah. I
You were
can't
so
guarantee that, but-
optimistic, Doctor. After the last couple of years, I'm not so optimistic.
Yeah, so, but we can work off preliminary data too.
Okay.
We have that.
All
We're
right,
actually going
so-
to share some of that with you in a meeting here pretty soon.
Just looking for consensus from the board on
Yeah.
which date you prefer.
My only really considering I don't have the optimism of having the actual scores by either date. Because we'll have gone this long break and staff may have something else they need to present to us as a higher priority on the 23rd. I'd
Okay.
kind of rather leave the 23rd to whatever you guys need to give us since it will have been a whole month. And then let's do August 4th.
August 4th, okay.
Yeah.
Ms. Jenkins, do you
I'm
have
good with that.
preference?
I don't. I'm not optimistic about that either, but.
Okay, so no preference.
If I may, we, the determining factor on which way direction that the state makes those decisions is not going to determine our gains and things that we've had throughout. Our core data is already in existence. So whether the state decides to choose one or the other, it makes no difference to us as far as when we evaluate our core. So we already have data supporting our end of the year course exams. We already have data supporting our gains in both mathematics and ELA. I feel we could go either way. But those are the core that I look at because the state chooses one way or the other just based on whatever they're doing shouldn't determine how we grade our superintendent. In my mind, I think based upon some of the gains that we have internally versus the numbers that we had previously, because sometimes it gets to some fuzzy math once we start getting into some of those things. So I'm all about trying to move forward with getting it done ahead of time, but if the board wishes to go to August, it's okay with me too. But I did just want to make that point, that we already have the data.
You're okay with either or? Okay, and Mr. Trent?
No, I'm actually fine with the August one, just for the same reason Ms. Campbell said, is if district needs anything, or if, I agree with Matt, we have plenty to evaluate from, but yeah, I would put it off just in case we do get the other numbers. It would be a better situation for us.
Okay,
August 6th, right?
sorry, did I say?
4th is a Sunday.
Oh,
I
not
was
a
just trying to
Sunday.
make
We
sure
are not coming in on a Sunday to do
No,
this. Sorry, I've written the wrong date, so.
Just to
Let me
clarify.
put my calendar up, I should have done that. And yes, it is August 6th. Okay, sorry, so August 6th. So let's go ahead and look at adding that on for the August 6th workshop. One other thing I want to talk to the board about, I have been very vocal and very much a champion and cheerleader for all things year-round school, and very excited that I'm getting one of our schools on the year-round track. I wanted to ask the board what their thoughts or their appetite is for possibly surveying parents, just to ask them to put calendar A and calendar B up, being, whichever order you want to do. One of them is the traditional school calendar versus the modified calendar, and just to kind of get a pulse for what people think about it, because I have heard so many things in the community, so many really positive things. The only negative thing I have heard, literally the only negative thing, is that they are upset that their child that's in another school is not on the same calendar. Otherwise, they would love it and think it's perfect. So I just wanted to see, would the board be favorable of sending out a survey to parents that just shows them both options and kind of gathering some feedback on what families feel about those calendars?
I think,
I'll open it
I
up
would
for
love it.
discussion.
I think, and if you can be part of that conversation of what the questions are asked, because you have some of the direction, you've been driving this, I would have you work with them also on some of those questions. But yeah, no, I love it.
Be happy to
Love it.
do so.
I've heard nothing, I'll be honest with you. I thought this was going to be I thought it was going to be a difficult run. I did, because being a former teacher, I taught in Port St. John where many of those were. And I thought, man, this is going to be difficult. I have not seen, it is overwhelming support, both from teachers and everybody else that I found. So
Yes.
I'm all about it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Trent, how?
Yes, as a former teacher and a current parent, I'm all for that schedule. I'd be curious and anxious to see what the rest of the community has
Yeah, I'm
to
just
say.
curious to see what
Yeah.
families feel. So
I would just suggest if we're going to do a survey that we include some open-ended response, because some of it may be questions that people have, like how will this affect X, how will this affect Y? We need to make sure that we know what questions we would have to answer before we would make a move like that, and make sure also that it goes out to staff.
Perfect.
Because I think where we're going to run into some blocks is some programmatic things.
And right now, again, this is just to get a temperature for where the community feels all over on, the district on this. So I like the open-ended question option. Ms. Jenkins?
Yeah, so I feel like we already had this conversation. I would like some clarity and transparency as to what conversations have sparked this to come back to the table.
Well, I have asked Dr. Rendell personally, I meet with him every single week, and just said, hey, I would like to survey the families that are in my area because of this happening, the feedback of, oh, I would really like it if my secondary student was on the same schedule.
So you're asking for that community?
Well, I would like it to be district-wide. I think it's a really, really attractive calendar when you look at the calendar. And so my first ask would be, hey, can we survey all parents? And if it's a no from the board on surveying all parents, then, okay, we'll go back to that community. Can we survey just that community? Again, this is just to get a feel, and we need board consensus. So Dr. Rendell had indicated he would feel more confident in surveying parents if he had board agreement that we have 3 votes, right? Am I being fair in what I'm saying?
So my first question, because there was a little mixed up there. So my first question is, was your question about your district?
No, my question is, can we survey all parents?
Okay, so my question is, was there a conversation that led to this coming back to the table with anyone?
No, I just explained the conversation to you that I had with Dr. Rendell.
I'm just curious, because I know there's communications from the state. So I just want clarification out in the public of where that's coming from, because we've already had this
Clarifying
conversation.
it right now.
Right, so Mrs. Wright asked me in one of our meetings, can we survey all of our families to see if we could go to this district-wide? And I said, I don't feel comfortable directing staff to do that without, input from the entire board. It's a big undertaking. Some people would also, even if we're just surveying, some people are gonna say, oh, they're gonna do this. So before we send the survey out, I wanna make sure that the board would be comfortable if we did that.
Yeah.
We would try to put language in the survey to say, hey, we're just trying to see
Right.
if people would be interested in a different calendar, that kind of thing.
So I feel like we've already had this conversation, so my position hasn't changed. I don't see a need for that. I'm not opposed to the need in the district in which we've already decided a change for their elementary school, because that seems logical to ask that question of, do you not like that it's not lining up with your students that might be going into a different grade, into middle school and high school? I'm not okay with this going district-wide. We've already hashed out the whys, so I'm not going to go into that again. I am concerned about the chaos that this will now cause and a distraction that we're going to cause in this district, because you're not going to be able to communicate in mass to everyone that this won't happen or may not happen. And as much as you say it, the average citizen doesn't have enough time in their day to pay attention enough to that. So there's going to be an alarmist reaction to this. And I don't understand the why behind it, because the previous conversation was implementing it at this school, getting feedback, getting data, deciding whether or not this would be even something feasible for the district to pull off district-wide or afford to do. So I'm definitely not okay with it. I'm not against it being in your district though, because it wouldn't shock me that parents would say it makes no sense that I have 2 different schedules going on with both of my kids.
Okay, so you're a no, thank you.
Could we add, just trying to think of when we were talking about, could we add some kind of identifier as far as area, so that if we get a really positive response in a certain geographic area, for example, in the area around where we're going to be doing this at Challenger 7, it's a very positive, but overall it may average out to be not so positive.
Right.
So that we can kind of see, because we had tossed around the idea, or it had been suggested, doing it in a feeder chain.
Right.
So if we could do, still be anonymous, but say, at least find out where does your child, where do you teach, or what schools are you associated
Right,
with, that
right.
kind of thing. So even if it's just a checkbox or something like that. So we can kind of get an idea of where is the positive or negative feedback coming from, if it is coming in from certain areas. That would be maybe helpful to address what you're talking about.
Also, because then that would give us totals for schools and areas as well, because my concern is we don't always have a huge response to these surveys. And so then we come back and we say, 2,000 parents say they want this, and act like that's the most positive thing in the world, but it's not necessarily representative of all the parents in our district. So I think linking it to a school is probably a very feasible request of a parent if they're responding to it.
Yeah, I think we'll look
I
at
think so too.
how we send out the survey, how they respond, if there's just a question, what school is your family associated with, or if there's a way to track the response, either way.
And again, this is 100% to see, does the community support this, or are they interested in this? This is not because
the
this.
future.
Yeah, in the future. This is not because this is what we are doing. It is because we want to check and survey parents first to see, is this something that they would be interested in? So do you feel like you have clear board consensus on this? And I can work with you on the survey questions too as well.
I do.
And the only other thing I was going to do is remind the board, your Form 6s are due by July 1st. Make sure you file them on time so you are not penalized with a late fee. Other than that, any other discussions or business? Hearing none, this meeting's adjourned.